Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Svarim Chatter podcast. On this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be joined by R Moshe Parnes, who is the mechaber of the new Sefer called Precious HaMelech on the Mitzvah of Hakhel, we'll be discussing the Sefer. It's an in-depth, few hundred-page Sefer on the Mitzvah of Hakhel, which Hakhel is something that would be now, this time of year. If there was a Beis HaMikdash, it would be right after Shemitah. We'll discuss the mitzvah and all the different various nuances associated with it. So thank you, R Moshe, for joining me.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Okay, so let's start off. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yes, my name is Moshe Parnes. I grew up in Monroe, Kiryas Yisrael. I learned in Satmar, of course, in Monroe. Happens to be my father's name was Reb Chaim. He's not alive anymore. He passed away 6 years ago. And he was a Sforim lover. He loved to buy Sforim. He had a lot of Sforim. He had thousands of Sforim. He knew all the Sforim. Even in that days, there wasn't a Chachman. People came to his house to check mechuyav for Sforim. So he was very good in Sforim. So about 25, 26 years, I got married to my wife. My shver's name is Yankov Shlomo Frankel. My wife's name is Leah Frank. It was Leah Frankel. Now, over 26 years, I moved to Borough Park. And Baruch Hashem, I have a nice family. I have married kids. Baruch Hashem, I have grandkids. And I was in Kotel many years. And then I went into the business. I do food. I import food, mainly the kosher market. So I do run a business of food, and I do try to learn a half a day. So, and that's basically about me.
Okay, so something like Hakhel, which, like I said, we'll get into. How did you get into this specific topic? And you're going to write the Sefer that I said it's a few hundred pages. I think it's almost 500 pages, the Sefer with the index, a big Sefer on one mitzvah.
Yeah, before I tell you, when I started to write the Sefer, I was thinking maybe it's going to be 200 pages. Even the end of it, I thought it's going to be 350. I didn't have a dream it's going to be so nice. It's over 500 pages. Anyway, it goes back about in the year 2000. I think in that year, summer, I was in Tel Yaffa. There's a colony Tel Yaffa in Elmville. And there was a guy, a friend of mine, his name is Sanla Rosenblatt. He had a Gemara. I think the Daf was that time they learned Yuma. So he has a Gemara, Yuma Mechana Migdash. And it's a beautiful Gemara. It's from the Mechana Migdash. He has in the back Shara Hakhel. And it has beautiful pictures and they summarize the sigas, nice lumdas, beautiful. So I borrowed from him the Gemara, and I did a lot of it that summer. And I got very much connected to the Masechta, and I got very much opening eyes to culture. So, and when I don't have to tell you that Yom Kippur was an amazing Kippur, I felt very connected to the Avodah. So since then, I got very inspired and enlightened to Kachem. I do every summer, 2 months, I do some Yima, and before Pesach, I do Korban Pesach. And I wrote a lot on those two topics. I believe Yoma is the nicest Masechta in Kodeshim because it has a lot of Rishonim. There's no other Masechta in Kodeshim that has the Rishonim, plus it has the Tosis Shainim, so I enjoyed it very, very much. So I decided many years ago that it's time. I have a lot of Chedishim that I want to give out already my Chedishim. I want to print the Sefer. But I decided before I want to print the Sefer, I want to do a Chiddush. Okay, it's nice to give out a Sefer on Yima, anything. I want to do a Chiddush. So I was thinking what Sefer I can write that nobody wrote. So it came to my mind to do Hakhel. Hakhel is there is form on it. The Rebbe on the Hakhel that I call is the Aderes. The Aderes, he wrote Zeichel Mikdash, and if somebody looks on my cipher, I quote him a lot. But since then, there's many Svarim, but not like this. So I figured that's going to be my starting point. And of course, it has a shaykhs to the Beis Hamikdash. and it's something that I enjoy. And here it comes.
Okay, so first of all, Masechtas Yoma, like I said, Yoma, it's in. You mentioned me in Kachim. Obviously, it's in Mayid, but but there's a lot of Kachim, and it's a Kachim related type of Masechta. Maybe that's why there's a lot more Rishonim, like there's a lot more Svarim on it than other Masechta. Also, the Aderet Sefer, is that in the Avat Shalom has a lot of Svarim from him with small contrasim in there. Is that where that is? That's where that's printed.
It's a small kintras. It's called Zeichel Migdash. Yeah, it's a book. I think they reprinted already with beautiful footnotes.
I think it's printed in that Avat Shalom set. It's a black cover. There's a couple of. I think that's where it is. Okay, so
I have it in soft cover.
Okay, so it could be I'm wrong on that. Okay, so let's talk about Hakhel. It's in Parshas Vayelech. Hakhel is anoshim v'atav v'gerich asher b'sharechel l'man yishmu. Right, l'man yilmadu v'yiru Hashem lekecha v'shem alasas as kol divrei Torah. So talk about what is the mitzvah, what is this pasuk? Maybe listeners are familiar, they hear it, they know a little bit about it. Let's start off just what is the mitzvah, the pasuk. Let's start off from the beginning.
Yeah, the pasuk, like you said, is you should come all about it. Man yishmi, man yilmadi v'yar Hashem lekecha. Over this pasuk is the beginning of the Sefer. They're right. The sibah to come. If you have two sivas, it's L'man Yilmadi, or it's Talmud Torah, or it's about Yiras Shemaim. And that's a big difference, makes a big difference, especially, first of all, Mitzvah Tzirich's Kavana. When you come to Hakhel, what's the Kavana on it? And the same thing, if something you need to listen, or if it's limited Torah, you need to listen. And then also about the bracha, what bracha you make. If you be yoitzer with Berch Sator in the morning. So in the Rishonim, there's a big machloek on it. Some Rishonim code it as that it's a part of Limit Torah, and some say no, it's Yiras Shamayim. And of course over there it is the topic also about Noshim if they're not a part in Torah. So if over here they have a mitzvah to do Limit Torah.
Right, that's the answer. This mitzvah explicitly, the pasuk says, men, women, and children. It's a mitzvah that's for everybody in Klal Yisrael. So when does this mitzvah take place? Right before, this is like I mentioned already, the pasuk, I think it's Dvarim Laman Aleph Yud, it mentions after Shemitah, right?
Yeah, it's not the last mitzvah, it's one of the last mitzvah, one before the last mitzvah. On the Akdama, I write the Sibud, that's my Akdama, that before the Torah finishes all the mitzvahs, he says that he wants the Torah to continue. So you do Hakhel that every 7 years you give over the Torah again. And then Ksivas have a Torah. With these two mitzvahs, it's going to be Hamshach HaDoros. So when it happened in Sikas. Yom Tov Sikas, it happened on the first day Chalamoid. So it was Sof Shemitah, and people didn't work all year. So before they went back to work, they went up and the Melech did Pashtas Dekriya. We'll talk about it later. And plus he did the main Pashas Krishma Yisoidas and Aseres Adibas the Soidas that the Klal Yisrael should know. He also gave a Misa Shmis. Dvarim Amdim Ala Perik.
So you said it was at the end of Shemitah, so it would be like this year, and it would be on Sukkot to Chol Hamoed. So was it Matzah Yom Tov at night, or was it in the morning? It was on the first day of Chol Hamoed.
That's a machlokas when it was. In the Rambam looks that it was at night, and some other showing in the morning. Also night, you know that Sikas there was Simchas Bais HaShaiva, is also when. It's also a big machlokes. If it's before Simchas Bais HaShaiva or after. And the same thing in the morning. If it's before the Karbanos or after the Karbanos. So we'll have to wait till the Mashiach should come to know when it was.
Okay, so I think before we get to more specific questions, so where it was and who read it and those type of things, before we get there, what was read? So you mentioned the Melech, let's just say that for now, before we get into that more. But what was, I'm sure listeners, what was read? What was going on exactly by this gathering, by the Hakhel?
Mainly, they did some parshas that had the Soidas Adas, Krishma. They did Aseres Adibras. That it's Masras because since it was a year before they didn't do, so they need to do other maser. And then Nisr, they should know they go back to work like a Psichas Azman. That's basically what they read. The Klal Yisrael should know what that to be good. That's about it.
Okay, so like I said, they came up to Yerushalayim in the Beis Hamikdash. Where in the Beis Hamikdash? What was the place in what place did it take place?
In the Azorah. It took place in the Azorah. But in the Azorah, they don't know. It was in Ezra's Noshim, over there is a machloka, but it was the specific place was in the Azorah. And of course, like you said before, everybody came up. It was the biggest gathering for Klal Yisrael, and was Nissim that everybody fit in this place.
Right, because like you said, and this is something else. This is the third parak. So first of all, I'll mention the parak and the way the sefer set up. On the top, you have like a halacha, kind of, in simanim, and at the bottom there's footnotes or sifim, whatever you want to call it. On the bottom, explaining and expounding more in depth biurim. And you have a yunim at some pages also going more in depth. So the third parak, you talk about the chiyav at sibur l'skoel. So like you mentioned, everybody's mechuyav, the pasuk says, so they all men, women, children, and they all would go, and everybody, this is a mitzvah on everybody, so everybody would gather. Now, you mentioned the melech. This is the fourth parak you discuss this. The melech was mechuyav. The melech was the one who was covered. What was that process with the melech?
The melech is one that's the melech read was the Balkoira. But the Mechischinach is, think about it, if it's a Ikkev or not. What happened if the Melech can't read or is no Melech? So that's one. What happened, it was in Meshach from Klal Yisrael was Steimelochem. So it was Malchus by Yisrael, Malchus by Dovet. Who read, or it was 2 times Haka. If there's no Melech, who read, maybe it's the God Ladar. So the reason why they picked the Melech, not because he's the Melech. Maybe it's because he has to be the biggest guy in Klal Yisrael. So who was the biggest guy in Klal Yisrael? The Melech. But if there is no Melech, you can take a good Yisrael. So it's not necessary that it's a chiyav on the Melech.
Right, and where do we know that it's a chiyav on the Melech from?
There's many Mekoiras where you know the Melech is, but one Mekor is the pasuk said, "Tikros HaTorah Azois Neged Kol Yisrael." Moshe said to Yeshua was the Melech, he should read. So over there is one Makar that it's for the Melech.
Right, and in the Sefer I think you discuss more than that. Something very interesting in here. We'll get into some more interesting things at the end, but I guess we'll bring it up a little bit later. But I'll bring it up here because we're discussing this. This happened, and what happens? I think it happened, but what happens if the Melech is a katan? Then what?
What?
If the Melech is a katan, then what happens and who reads?
There's a big question on that. That is a shayla that what happened to Melech is a katan if he was lining. So one of the main questions is who's the cotton needs to go to Haka. So who is the chiyuv before? Is it the chiyuv the father has to bring the cotton, or it's a chiyuv for the cotton? So if the cotton has a chiyuv, so a melech cotton can also read. That's one tzad. The other tzad, if it's not a chiyuv on the cotton, so the cotton is not a mitzvah, so he can't read. But there's even with the tzad that he's not a mitzvah. Hakhel is not something you need to be listened to be yoitza. It's something you need to be here the career. It's not something you need to listen from a bar chiyuv.
Now, something else also you discussed, and you already mentioned if there's 2 malachim.
Yes.
Also, you talk about if there's a isha, if there's a queen. If there's a
yes.
queen, does a queen have the melech?
Yes. So there's the queen. If a queen's a melech, the Rambam Paskins there is not a melech. But they say that B'Yerisha there could be a melech. So if he's not a melech, maybe she could read out because she's a god ladar, like I said before. It's not a dinner melech. But if it's a melech, she could read as a melech. And even though the same thing like before, even though she's not mechuyav because she's not in limited Torah, she's only here to listen, it doesn't mean Hakhel needs to be listened from a bar chiyuv.
Now, the other thing about Hakhel, there was a special bima. So if you want to talk about a little bit about the bima, what this bima was, what it made special, what happened with the bima here?
The bima was like I wrote in the Sefer. I have a makar how big it was, and if I would say it was a small bima because probably only the melech was on that bima, so it doesn't have to be big. And it was made from wood. And the bigger shala is that why you know that you're not allowed to build anything in the Beis Hamikdash because over there. So some say they did it for program. Some say that because l'shata, but mainly but there's one thing that we have a makar that it was the height was higher than the length and the width, and there's also one nice chiddush from the Deres that it has a keves. It said like the Mizbach had a keves, this also has a keves. So that's a big chiddush from him.
I mean a ramp, right?
A ramp.
A ramp. So, and now what happened afterwards? So they're done with this bima. They're finished with Hakhel. This once every 8 years. What do they do with the bima?
They took it apart, and it didn't have a kedusha on it. It had maybe it had a kedushas by Knesset, but it didn't have a kedushas hamikdash. I did the Mesefer, it didn't come even from Hagdish. And who paid for it? Maybe the Melech. I don't know.
Wow, fascinating. And all this is discussed in the Sefer, by the way, with a lot more extensive footnotes, Mefarshim. This is just, we're just, to the tip of the iceberg. So then you get to the Sefer Torah. Which Sefer Torah was used? First of all, I mean, we should say it was lent from a Sefer Torah, but which Sefer Torah was used?
There's many shittas on this. The first shitta is that they took the Sefer Torah from the Kodesh Kodeshim that was in the Aron. But the main question is that you're not allowed to go into the Kodesh Kodeshim to take out the Sefer Torah. So some Rishonim say that if you need to go in, like if you need to go in to fix something, you're allowed to go in. Same thing, you go in. Some say no. That's an interesting answer. The Kohen Gadol took it out the last Yom Kippur when he went to take out the machta. So he also took it out, and and the next year Yom Kippur when he went in, he took it back in. So this Sefer Torah was out all year. That one shit in the Achronim. Some say it was a different the Mikdash Rishon and Mikdash Sheni, because in Mikdash Sheni there was no Urin, there was no Sefer Torah. So they say the Melech had a Sefer Torah. He read from his Sefer Torah. Then there is in Russia there was a Beis Knesset in the Beis Hamikdash, and that Beis Knesset had a Sefer Torah. So they took from Sefer Torah. In any case, it doesn't. Even though whatever they say that it was from Kodesh Kodeshim, whatever, it doesn't mean that it has to be from there. It has to be from a Sefer Torah. So the only question was from where they read it, where. But I don't think there was a halacha they need to read from that Sefer Torah or his Sefer Torah.
Right. Okay. Now the actual kriya. This is very interesting. There was chatzotzros, they blew trumpets. So what was that like with that part? And then they came with the the giving of the Sefer Torah to the Kohen Gadol, to the Melech.
No, the chatzotzros had got nothing with the kriya. The chatzotzros had with to like today I don't know where you live, like we have in Bar Park when it comes Shabbos and they have the siren, the bell. So that was the chatzotzros that they did to make sure that everybody comes. Now is the time for Hakhel, and it wasn't. That's one of it's not a din in kahana, and it wasn't the chatzotzros that the same chatzotzros that it was using for the Beis Hamikdash, and it wasn't the din for Klai Shoros.
Right.
The Kahanim did the Chatzos, but even the Balmima could do it, and it did it. They didn't do it in Mikdash. They did it all in Yerushalayim.
Right. Yeah. So that was before. Right. That was before the Kriya. So then, what happened with the Sefer Torah that it was handed off, given to the Melech?
Yeah. So it started with the Chazan Knesset, like I said before. The Beis Mikdash had a Beis Medrash, a Beis Knesset, and there was a Chazan, like he was the Shamas, he was the Gabi, whatever you want to call it, and he was the first one that he took out the Sefer Torah wherever the Sefer Torah comes. Maybe that Sefer Torah that for Kodesh Kodesh, in the meantime they put it over there, and he took it, and then he gave it over to the Rosh Knesset. I said that's the Rosh Kol. He was the decision maker, and then he gives it to the Sgan Kohen Gadol, and the Sgan gives it for the Kohen Gadol, and the Kohen Gadol gives it for the Melech. That's everything that they do is because it's a cover for the Melech. And what I didn't find is what happened if the Melech didn't read. Then if I got Ladar or anybody else, what happened then? I didn't find the answer on that. And also I didn't find what happened when they put back the Sefer Torah. How did it go? I couldn't find any Mefarshim talking about it. The Melech finished the Kriya. How did it go back? If it goes back the same way, or some other guy that does the Hagbah, he takes it back. I have no answer for it.
Interesting. Something else that you spend a couple of pages, there's a lot of notes on, is sitting or standing. Was the Melech was sitting or standing, or were the people that listening, were they sitting or standing?
The Melech is the one that he was sitting, but because of kvod of the Melech, if it's a kovet, he should sit. And then if the koira was the Melech or the other, that's also what happened if he was allowed to sit or not. Because the only reason why the Melech was sitting is because it was a cover for him. So if it was the other Bal Koira, that's one of the shalas that was doing if he was allowed to sit. And the people that in the Azara B'Shas the Kriya, I don't know. It's I don't know if they had to stand or sit.
Okay. So, first of all, we're covering a bunch of the prakim in the Sefer, so I want to tell for the listeners. So, first of all, there'll be a link in the show's notes to purchase the Sefer. I'll try to find somewhere online people can order from. It's available in the farm stores. But something else is interesting about the Sefer. Like I said, the top is almost like this, like halacha, like in Shulchan Aruch. And the bottom, you have the halacha. So, someone could really just go through the whole top of the Sefer and not really look much at the bottom. You'll get a real picture, like, of what we're discussing. Without going in, without the bottom, but there's a lot more. So, and even then, we're skipping some of the prakim, but there's a lot. We're trying to just cover generally, broadly speaking here. So, when it came to the brachas on this kriya, because this was a kriya, like I said, this was a kriya in from the Sefer Torah. There was brachas. What was the brachas that they made before, the brachas after? How did that work?
First of all, the one of the shalas is if there was a shechano. One of the machlokes is because there's no shechano only if they have a simcha or an osagif. That's one of the way why there was no shechano. Also, one of the time that shouldn't say shem because as we start our conversation that the purpose on Hakhel is because to get Yerushalayim. So it's you don't make a bracha only on a mitzvah that you finish. If it's something that is still in the middle of doing, you don't make a bracha on it. So there's a machlok if they made a shechyan. But before the other brachas is the Mishnah says that they did 8 shmoyne brachas, but most Rishonim learn this. That's the end when they finish the kriya. But most Rishonim they started with Baruch Hu, like we start the Kriyas Torah Baruch Hu, and they start the bracha Baruch Hashem Elkan Mechasher Bocha Bon Mekalam Nois Na Torah. Then there's a shaila: what happened if they make a bracha As ich schon so one al Kriyas Parshas Hakhel or Likra Parshas Hakhel. This is also a if they did such a bracha. And then is also a question, or if the Balkoira made the bracha, that's also if the listeners made the bracha. What bracha they made? They also do a mitzvah. Even though they don't make the bracha on the Kriya, maybe they made bracha on Asifas Hakhel. So when that's the shala before. Then when they finish, so they make Gelila like we do, the same process, and they made the bracha what we do when we finish the Kriya. And then they have the 7 brachas. I'm not going to go in. I think I made a beautiful job on the ger and the ger suas, because a lot of gers are how to make the bracha. So they did avoidu. That's the bracha retzei that we do in Shmona Esra, and the finish is ois cholavat gebir in avoid, or hamkabel avoid am Yisrael berotzen, or hamar aboicher avoid is am Yisrael. So there's many nischos. Then they did haladua. It's like moedum. Then they did regulim. That's the bracha we say b'Shemona Esra b'Yom Tov ato b'chartonim v'kol and they finish mekadosh Yisrael v'azmanim. And then al hamikdash, that's Baruch Ata Hashem Hashoichem b'Tzion or Choisem Haboicher b'Mikdash. And then they al Yisrael. There was a tefillah for Klal Yisrael that the melech should the Klal Yisrael should have the king with the melicha. That's and then al kahanim in al shar tefillah. That was the last bracha. That the shar tefillah that Hashem shall be makabla tefillas. Then I have a whole shmis about the Shem Foirish. If they said Umain, that's basically the bracha. So they started with the regular bracha, and then with the regular bracha in the end, and then the 7 brachas. It's like similar to the 7 Tzedaf Torah brachas.
Okay, now you have a whole section here in the Sefer that I don't want to go into in depth unless you want to mention something in it, but you have a bunch of prakim, and I'll just the overall section is called Chayavim B'Hakhel. Who's mechuyav? As we alluded to before, you go through woman, avadim, gerim, shoita, someone who can't go, who can walk, chayla, tamei va'arol, she'eni yochel alisim kulam. I'm reading the Einin, Avol, Menuda, and then you have a whole also a paraka bringing the chiyuv of bringing children as well. So I don't know. We're not gonna. I'm just lumping.
I want to give you just that program. I don't know. Most of them is aliyah leregel. The klal is kala potter regel potter maria. So whoever didn't come oil regel. So that's one also of the saw this in Hakhel. That Hakhel is a part from aliyah leregel. It's much more manner shoinem. So kala potter regel is potter maria. So whoever all the chiyuvim, all the patorim, that's mainly they potter from oil regel down. Except Noshim and I think Toma and of course kids. So about kids, I would say a little bit. Kids, that's a machloek of what age of kids. Some say from 30 days and up. Some say Megillah Chinuch. That's one thing. The other thing, who I said before, whose chiyuv was it? That's a big. It was an interesting part. Let's say the father is potter from Hakhel. Let's say he's a chiger, he's a sima, but he has a child like takes 7 years. Is he mechuyav to go up to because his child, or no? Bezdin has a chiyuv, so that's also a big shiloh. And same thing if the father can't go, if it's a chiyuv and the mother, and then if Nebuch is a yosem, he has the grandfather a chiyuv, and that's. Where we started, they say if it's a chiyuv in limited Torah, a grandfather has a chiyuv and it teaches grandchildren Torah, so he also has a chiyuv to bring up his enical to Hakhel.
Another interesting thing that you discussed, mentioned. So now that there was men, women, children there, what about the mechitza between the men and the woman?
Oh, the mechitza is in Rabban Kotler and Mishnah's Rabban, he touched it. He says it was like Simchas Bais Shaiva. It was a tikkun. The man was downstairs and the ladies upstairs, and that was the separation between the the man and the woman. I don't know who watched the kids, but that's a different topic. But that's his shit. But others say no, because it's B'shas Krisa Torah, and the Torah Magina Matzla, and they not be afraid to separate. There was no tikkun and no mechitza. So it could be totally that when the kriya was. It was the kriya at night, so they could use the same like Simchas Bais Shaiva. It was the day, so mainly then was nothing. There was no mechutz, nothing.
Another interesting shaila, and there's a lot more. We're just mentioning some. Is there's a lot of people there. So how far did someone have to be to hear the laning, or were they further away? Were they not yotza?
No, they in Rambam said beferish that even though you don't hear the line, it's okay. You just be mechuyav and to the kriya, and that's all. So the main thing is the matzav. The Rambam says it was like Yom Matan Torah. So the matzav you there, and there's a laning, even though you don't hear the laning, that's your yotza.
Okay, so the last kind of big topic that we'll discuss, like I said, there's a lot more in the Sefer, is that when this mitzvah was noig. So was this only when they had mitzvah of Shemitah? When was this mitzvah? Now we'll discuss today, Bizman Hazeh, after.
This mitzvah goes on only the Beis Hamikdash. That's Farish in the Chinuch and the Rambam. It's only when the Beis Hamikdash. Some are told this is Shemitah. So if Shemitah is a deraisa in the Mikdash tradition, then they did Hakhel. So Mikdash Shiny didn't do Shemitah. Not sure they did Shemitah, they don't know. But let's say they did Shemitah. So when there's no Beis Hamikdash, there's no Hakhel. That's all the Rishonim says that. And the reason is because, many reasons. Because if, like we say, if it's a Din Melech, there's no Melech, there's no Hakhel. Then there's other reason, and the Pasuk say, B'voy kol Yisroel liros, is if it's totally in Oile Regel. If you're not Oile Regel, then you're potter from Hakhel. There's no Hakhel. And also, for Kol Yisrael, you have to have full Klal Yisrael. If you have part, there's no Hakhel. And another reason, because Tamayim Maisim is potter from Oile Regel. So everybody is not Tom a mess. So that's the reason that Rishonim said there's no Hakhel Bizman Hazeh. But the other reason is that he started up. How come there's no Zeicher LaHakhel? There's many mitzvahs like Sfiras Omer, Lilav. Let's say even Pesach, but they say that they do the Korban Pesach. How come there's no Zeicher? But first of all, I'll mention that the Barbanel, he says that they finished the Parshas Devarim on Sikkos. That's the Zeicher and Halai. That's his Chiddush. And in the Sefer Hamanik said that the part that we reading Keheles is also, that's the Zeicher Hakhel. So if you want to have a Zeicher Hakhel, we have these two sources that we do. But the Deres goes that there's no inyan to make a Zeicher and Hakhel. First of all, because it's only, that was he says that Lilav they made, Sfiras Omer they made, it's a Derais. Aruva, it's a Derabanan. So because now Hakhel, Shemitah is a Derabanan, there is no Zeicher. And plus, it belongs to the Mikdash. We don't have the Beis Hamikdash. So, and you can't make a Zeicher. There's no Zeicher because the Zeicher is you should be in the Beis Hamikdash. So you can't make a Zeicher on the Mikdash. But many years ago was Rav Herzog. He wanted to make a Zeicher. And he has a big, he write about it. But then when the Chaznish, and he wrote that it's usher to make a Zeicher. What's the makar to say it's usher? I don't know. But that was the Chaznish. It's usher to make a Zeicher.
Okay. A general question about the Sefer is, you've mentioned this throughout, but just in general, what are the general mechuyav, the sources that you used throughout the Sefer?
Of course, I started. There's two sigis shas. It's in Chagiga in a Soita, and of course, I did the Rambam and the Mechsilach. That's the main sources, and then the others. That's a lot of sources. Then the Mefarshim and the Gemara. Chassim Sofer has a lot, but that's mainly what the sources. Then I was digging a lot to find some sources. But in Aliyah Regel, you have the many program has Aliyah Regel, so you have more sources. What's Potter, what's Chiyuv, but in Hakhel is mainly I followed the Rambam. I went even the Seder out the Rambam starts.
Okay, so what about Haskamas on the Sefer? Who did you get Haskamas from?
When I started to take Haskamas, I decided I'm only take Haskamas people that know me. I didn't want to go to anybody that doesn't know me and just for the Sefer. So first Haskama I went. I grew up in Monroe, so I'm a Satmar. So I went to the Rebbe there, Rabbi in Teitelbaum, the Satmar Rebbe from Monroe, and we have a very close relationship, as you could read. And it's nice to mention that the Sefer I gave out, of course, Lil Nishmas, my father, and I have a very, very nice writing about him. And he has had a very close relationship with all the Satmar Rebbeim. So the first Askama, I'm a Talmud of the Rebbe, I went to take Askama of him and he gave me a beautiful Askama. And the second Askama, I live in Borough Park. I daven in a Stiebel Eisenstadt. Von dem hier is Eisenstadt. The Rav there is Harav Rebchil Yankov Miller. I could say he's an item of Rav Tinnor, the Rav Hashem Shabbos, because he has Yichus Atzmoy. He's a big posik in Borough Park. Today, probably no one remembers when the Irgen Shira started the Dalv Chelke Shulchan Aruch, and of course the Cheskerot, Belsky. Now in Borough Park, the Rav Steinmetz does it, and he does it. He's a famous Moraru, famous posik in Borough Park. So I done with him, and then the third Eskoma went to. There's a Dain Tzrol. He's a new from the Chaver of that in Eda Chredes, Harav Shimon Yitzchak Schlesinger. He's a famous Talmud Chacham. He comes a lot in the US. People got to know him. And he surprised me with a nice Askama plus beautiful, beautiful Aras. Plus what I did, I don't know if you saw that before I gave out the Sefer, I sent it to Talmidei Chachamim, and they don't give us Kama, but they gave me beautiful Aras, and it's all in the back. I have from Rav Steinberg, the famous Talmid Chacham. He gave out Menes for Mishnas Chaim, and Rav Izak, he gave out Shmiras Chaim. And then I have some locals. I have from around. So that's also beautiful. I don't call it Askamas, but if I have a Aras, so it's also beautiful stuff.
Okay, so finally, I mean, we've discussed overall.
Now I'll finish with one more thing, one more amazing thing. Now, what's going to happen when Mashiach is in the coming yet Shem tomorrow? Will be Hakhel or not? So that question, my editor wrote me an email one day and asked me, "What do you think when Mashiach is going to come? Will you do a Hakhel this year?" So I told him, "Oh, you live in Bnei Brak and I live in Borough Park. I'll answer you." Last winter came out a cipher, Sir Devar. There was letters between Hargu and Reb Chaim Kanievsky and Lav Reb Chaim Reb Lando. So they wrote between each other from Tufshin Yitches to Tufshin Koftes in Kala Torah Killa. Mamish, it's amazing cipher. So Reb Chaim asks Reb Dov, what's going to happen if Beis Hamikdash is going to be built, if it's going to be a Hakhel? So there's no answer. But we have a beautiful raya from the Rogachover and Tzafn Spanayach. He writes a letter, he finished, Sheniska B'Hakhel B'Chag HaSikas. So we bring a raya from this, as if Mashiach is going to come, it's going to be a Hakhel.
Wow, amazing. So with this Sefer, like I said, we've touched on the generalities. There's a lot more on the Sefer, but who would you say was someone? Why should someone pick up the Sefer and learn the Sefer? And also, who would enjoy learning from the Sefer?
Some people like me that I enjoy to know what went on in the Beis Mikdash. In some people like Chiddushim. It's a nice Chiddush to know. Mitzvah of Hakhel is. I feel very humble that the Chafetz Chaim wrote that the Chafetz Chaim ordered that you gotta learn Kachim because it's a nice mitzvah. I think today's is Kachim no more mess mitzvah, and I think you'll agree with that. I think Hakhel was a mess mitzvah, and I hope it's not anymore. So I have a schus, and some people come in. Oh, it's a new mitzvah, and I already meet people. Oh, wow, what happened? That's such a nice mitzvah. And this time to think, and it's gonna. I think it's gonna be more people this year sickest they can talk about the Hakhel than 7 years ago.
Right, and like I said, the Kachim people, more people learn it today, but not other Masechtas. And exactly, it's a mitzvah that we would be doing if there was Mashiach Beis Hamikdash, like we have something we would be doing. We're not able to do so. You can learn it. You always makayim a mitzvah by learning the mitzvah. So you can learn through the Sefer, like you're saying, take the mitzvah that you would know about and learn it in that way.
And then of course, if you want to do a zecher and you feel you want to do a zecher, then if you learn it, it's the best zecher.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so I'll try to put a link, find an online link in the show's notes, and they can find it in Sfarim stores. And thank you very much for joining me to talk about Mitzvah of Hakhel and the new Sefer.
Thank you very much for taking the time. And whoever buys a cipher and want to reach me, that's my number. I have an email address, and I would appreciate it if you have any RS. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll try to put your email address in the show's notes as well if anyone wants to send you an email.
Okay, appreciate it.